Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
And that sound means it's time for one of our special segments. It's called our Conservative Future segment, where we highlight a young conservative here in Arkansas. And I just want to welcome to the program, introduce you to Mr. Trey Rosenbaum joins us. Trey, welcome to the Paul Harrell program.
Hey, Paul. Good to be with you, man.
Yes, sir. So first off, tell everybody how old you are.
I am 28, just turned 28.
All right, 28 years old. Okay, so tell us, you're first of all, tell us what you do, too, as well, please.
Okay, I am actually, as of a few weeks ago, unemployed, but hoping to be starting a new job soon. So in the works interview process, getting that all worked out.
That's fantastic.
I have been in the past worked in politics and worked in the auto parts world.
Okay, in the auto parts world. All right, so you identify, though, and I say this really hilariously because of the way it's being used, but you self-identify as a conservative. Is that right, Trey?
Most definitely. Definitely.
So how did that happen? How you're 28 years old, and a lot of times you don't find young conservatives. The younger you are, you tend to be more liberal. So tell us about how you arrived where you are today.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I had bad influences in my house in the form of my parents. They were both their first president to vote for was the great Ronald Reagan, and they kind of raised me in a household where those ideals and those political beliefs were taught. And I was blessed to be kind of a combination of go to a private Christian school and homeschool. And then on top of that, I also got to go to a public community college while I was in high school. And so that always kind of shaped my views. And again, it started at home. And my dad decided to run for state representative when I was 12. And I'd been interested in politics up until then. I thought they were kind of cool, mainly because my dad thought they were cool. But when he got in, I really just went full bore in. And there's something really important to know. This was 2002. So in Arkansas in 2002, which I'm sure many of your listeners remember, being a conservative or a Republican in Arkansas was not a popular thing. There were only a handful of conservative legislators. And my dad, even though his district was about 50-50 Republican, it really leaned more Democrat. And He was young. He was in his early 30s, father of four, and he just decided to kind of take a leap. And, hey, I've been a small business owner. I've worked in the public and the private sector, and it's time to take my experience to the house in Little Rock. And that really kind of inspired me. I got involved in his campaign, and kind of one thing led to another, got involved in more campaigns after that. High school, and then when I got to college, I got involved in college Republicans, and that just kind of fueled the fire even more.
I heard that a lot.
Ended up, college Republicans is great, and it kind of gave me a group of people outside of my my Bible study group. It kind of gave me a group of people that, while I wanted to see different cultures and different ideas, it gave me a group of, for lack of a better term, safe people to really talk about stuff with, bounce ideas off of, and kind of grow with as a conservative. And it kind of all that culminated when I got a job working for now Senator Tom Cotton, who you're hard pressed to find somebody in the Senate that is more conservative.
Yes.
And
hey, have you been following?
Awesome.
You've been following the RAISE Act and him up there with Donald Trump and talking about how we got to curb our immigration system, make it more merit based. Isn't that fantastic?
I really agree with it. I think it's a great move on his part. Actually, just before the show, was reading up on it. I've been on the road most of today, but I think, I'm not surprised to see something like that come from Tom, because when we sent Tom to D.C., we truly sent one of the smartest, brightest Arkansans there. And he really researches subjects. He surrounds himself with people that are smarter than he is. And he bounces ideas off folks. And getting to work for him, getting to see that kind of stuff was just awesome. And his immigration, it's funny because immigration wasn't a big deal when I worked for Tom, but it has become as the years have kind of drug on. And I love the RAISE Act, because I look at it and I go, this is a great balance between making sure that we help the people that want to come here and better themselves, because that's very, very important, but vice versa, that we respect our laws and that we, in some ways, also protect American jobs.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great compromise.
We're talking with Mr. Trey Rosenbaum. He is a young conservative, 28 years old. Hey, what part of Arkansas? You say you're on the road, so what part of Arkansas are you in? Or are you in the state today?
I actually am in the liberal bastion of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, no.
So coming out here to visit some friends and all that kind of stuff. But I am from West Little Rock.
Okay, West Little Rock. Okay. All right, so Trey, tell us, this is kind of a general question, but when I say, conservatism, or you are a conservative, or I kind of have to qualify that these days with the other phrase, limited government conservatism. What does that mean to you in a nutshell?
Conservatism is, for me, a set of ideals I think best put forth by, again, to sound like a typical conservative, Ronald Reagan. It's limited government, it's small government, it's making government work for the people without robbing the very people that's trying to help. I think it's low taxes. I think it is freedom. I think probably the best word to sum it up is freedom. One of my friends, I got several friends who are legislators, and was talking to one of them the other day, and I said, man, when you go to the House and the Senate, when you're voting, I said, you really need to think about every bill you're voting. How does this advance freedom and limit government every single time? Because if you're not looking at that, then you can't call yourself a conservative.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just the really core principle of it is, how are we limiting government and getting government out of the way of capitalism and free enterprise, really unleashing the best in people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great definition of it for sure. And what that really kind of makes me realize, and said this before, but specifically with Arkansas politics and what's going on in Little Rock and the massive Republican majorities that we have, there's just such an opportunity to reform and to limit government, to show people what more liberty does instead of force. And so I'd love to get your thoughts on maybe the state of Arkansas politics, specifically in the Republican Party, which is the party where conservatism, historically has existed. How does the Republican Party, protect its image from, growing, big government politicians, tax and spend politicians in the party? How do they, if they're advocating for higher taxes like we've seen, how does the Republican Party survive out of all of this?
Paul, great question, man. I've been very frustrated with the Republican majorities in Little Rock. They are squandering an incredible opportunity to make a great state even greater. And there have been so many side issues, so many social issues, so many issues that don't advance freedom. They don't help anybody. They're not beneficial. All it is political grandstanding. And it's been very frustrating to see Republicans forget where we came from. I look at somebody like my dad, who at one point was one of only 18 Republicans, yet was able to pass a concealed carry bill that broadened our concealed carry rights in Arkansas, actually passed even other states that were Republican controlled. He did that through sitting down with other people and going, hey, what can I do to make this work? And, the Republicans in Little Rock have forgotten how to do that. There's a difference between negotiating and compromise. Negotiating means everybody sits down at the table, they throw everything out, and they come up with something that's going to work at least somewhat okay for everybody. Compromise means one person gets everything and the other person gets nothing. And they lack the ability to do that. And I think that all culminated with the private option. The private option is a brilliant example of government overreach and of Republicans trying to solve a problem and in reality making it worse.
Yeah.
And so I really hope to see Republicans do something, because I look back at this last session, and it's just there was no good that came out of it. I'm still trying to figure out, okay, what's better, because my income taxes really haven't gone down. Sales taxes on a local level are still high. Our unemployment's great. I do appreciate that, but at the same time, it still could be better. Our job environment could be better. What are you doing to keep young conservatives, or just young people in period, in the state? What are you doing to make to make our laws where they get out of the way of businesses trying to grow here in the state. So I think they're squandering, again, an opportunity to really go forward. And I don't want to badmouth anybody. I think there's some really great legislators in the House that are trying, and they're working hard. Yeah, I think there are some others that have.
The problem,
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a big problem. And some of the best ones had to fight off tax increases. You know, some of the best ones were handicapped by what I would say was, a misguided leadership that ended up giving you 11 Democrats on a Revenue and Tax Committee, which then meant that there was going to be no people voting on the record from a conservative tax policy standpoint. Conservatives it was a faulty errand to go before that committee and try to get an actual tax cut passed, a real one, because the Democrats would have voted for it, or would have voted against it. So what you had was essentially the only tax policies that were going to ever even get voted on were the ones that the Republican leadership was going to have to make a deal with the Democrats to get it out of committee. And we had just a lot of defense, the good defense, when they were trying to raise their taxes. They succeeded some, but you're right, we do have good people down there, Trey, and I hope they continue to get recognized. But I don't understand why we continue to grow spending the way we're doing here, and we have this mentality where, okay, we want to cut taxes, but it's going to be a revenue neutral tax cut. We want to protect what the government's getting at all costs. And yeah, you said opportunity. That just certainly is what they're squandering there. And you feel free to comment more on that, but also comment on the Trump phenomenon and what that was like as a young conservative in the most historic election of my lifetime. It probably will be, the most historic election of your lifetime, because we're not that far apart in age.
Yeah. I'll go back real quick to just kind of what we were talking about with Little Rock. There's been so many missed opportunities, and I think what legislators forget is it is okay to go to the House and the Senate and not pass bills. If there's not a bill that's needed, if there's not a problem, if nothing needs to be fixed, then we don't have to fix it. And I know, in your own personal life, my own personal life, when we don't have money, what do? You cut your budget.
Yes.
And that means sometimes you have to sacrifice on things, and that's the problem is, government they're unable to push those pain points and to really kind of hurt a little bit, to make those cuts that hurt. So I hope to see us do that in Little Rock. But as far as Trump, Trump is a hard one for me. I lean probably more libertarian than most Republicans do, most conservatives do, again, because I'm very freedom, liberty minded. Trump was a hard one for me because I initially was a very big Rand Paul, Scott Walker, Ted Cruz guy.
Yeah,
Rand was my excellent choices.
Rand was my first choice, and then I was with Ted Cruz, until the end.
Yeah, same here. Also, I thought Rubio was a good option as well, but Trump did something that was unprecedented, and I think what he did was he resonated with people that felt like they didn't have a voice. I'll use the example. I was talking with a gentleman. I was doing some work for him this last week, and he's in his 70s, and he was telling me about his dad. He used to be a union boss up north, and he said, my dad was a lifelong, staunch, yellow dog Democrat, never was going to vote for Republican. But he said then Ronald Reagan came along, and he was listening to him and hearing him espouse these conservative ideas and really getting out there and connecting with the common man, the unheard voice. And he said his dad in 1980 became a Republican and voted Republican all the way until he died. And we have so many great conservative voices, but they're getting lost in the void. And I don't think Trump is that. What happened was unprecedented. I think he connected with a lot of people that were unconnected with, but Trump doesn't know how to temper himself. And because he doesn't know how to temper what he says and his attitude, he's blowing a lot of opportunities. Republicans have a literal majority on everything. We control the House. We control the Senate. We, in many ways, control the Supreme Court. We control all these local houses. We have the presidency. And what are we getting done? We're focused on the Russia probe and transgender rights and, lack of tax cut. And somebody said inappropriate word on television. We're not focused on the real issues that matter that affect everyday Americans, and that is tax cuts and health care.
Yeah.
And when
of course you got McCain, what about McCain? I mean, I kind of feel like on the health care thing, that was just the empire, if you will, just did not want to actually get rid of this government dependency that they've become accustomed to.
No, and that's the thing. Getting rid of it is going to hurt. That's all there is to it. It's going to hurt. There are people that are going to lose health care. It's going to be messy. But in the end, it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Because when I voted for these Republicans, when I got behind and worked for people like Tom Cotton and French Hill and all these guys, these excellent legislators we sent up there, the one thing I told all of them personally was get rid of Obamacare. Get rid of health care. Same here in the state. Stop expanding health care. And and as somebody right now that's been interviewing with other jobs, I'm noticing a trend in it that there's not a lot of benefits that companies offer anymore. And they're all telling me it's because our healthcare costs are so high.
Yeah.
And our tax burden is so high. So it's that trickle-down economics that Reagan was so good at espousing, that they don't understand that because they won't tackle those two big tough issues, we're having that problem on the bottom end.
Hmm.
And so I don't want to sit here and openly bash Trump. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of some of the things he said. I'm not a fan of the way he does politics. I do admit that what happened was incredible. It was unlike anything we've ever seen.
I'm thankful for it.
I do want him.
I'm thankful.
Yeah.
Compared to the alternative. I mean, good grief.
Oh, listen. There is nothing better than yet another Clinton, and few people know that, like Arkansas. That said, there is going to have to be some leadership up there. I'm excited about General Mattis. I'm excited about Kelly. While I'm not military, many of my friends are military, and I like the military mindset, a lot of things, of discipline and getting things done and making tough choices and leading with the smartest person in the room. And so I hope that by surrounding himself with some of those people, it'll really kind of whip things into shape. And I like seeing him partner with people like Tom Cotton, who are tough, strong, proven leaders.
Me too. That's all the time we have. Trey Rosenbaum, it's been a pleasure to meet you, sir. Young conservative for our Conservative Future segment. Thanks so much for coming on, and I'd love to do it again soon sometime.
Paul, I really enjoyed it, man. Have me on anytime. Love to discuss this stuff.
All righty. Thank you, sir, very much. Folks, we got to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment.